This is an uncensored podcast about sex, sexuality, gender, and body stuff. Listener discretion is advised. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the person or persons sharing them. Some names have been changed to protect the anonymity of its participants. Hello, my friends. It is I, Drew Michael, and this is Make Sex With Me, a podcast where we are occasionally behind, a little behind today. It's been a lazy day. You know what I mean? I've come off like being just really, really, really busy and really like doing a lot. As you guys will know if you've listened to the podcast recently. Oh my God, the birds are literally insane right now outside. It's like there's a murder of birds outside. I think that only applies to crows. I don't think there's any crows outside. Anyway, we're just going to go with it. Let's just pretend that I'm podcasting live from the jungles. The jungles. More than one jungle. Yeah, so came off being really busy, and it's like this thing where we have to remind ourselves that when you're really, really stressed out and doing a lot, and then all of a sudden you're done with that thing, and now you have nothing to be stressed out about, nothing to worry about. It feels kind of shitty. I mean, it feels relaxing, and right at first you're like, oh God, thank God, I'm free of this thing that was taking up all my time. But then you're like, now what am I gonna do? It's like really weird. So yeah. So that's where I am right now. I am finding things to do, but not as much. And I had applied for this job that I was really excited about, and it would have given me just a lot of really awesome life shit. Like, would have paid me enough and given me enough hours and given me benefits and given me weekends and, a title and respect and, just like things that I've been like really wanting for a minute. And I didn't get the job. They gave it to somebody who had done this same job a bunch already, which is the safest thing you could do, I guess, as a person hiring, is just hire someone who does not need to be trained at all, and take zero chances on employees. Yeah, so that made me feel a lot of things. Of course, anger, of course, pretty sad. But I also, excuse me, I also just feel such regret that I took so long. I always do this thing where I put off doing something, trying to complete something. Like, for instance, my bachelor's. Putting it off for years and years and years, and accepting jobs that are beneath me in a way, in my intelligence level, in my less than what I'm capable of doing, and then having that period where I was having like depression and anxiety and thinking like, well, I can't handle all these things that I thought I wanted, or anything new that might be too much, like responsibility, because like the narrative that I created at the time was that if I did something that required too much responsibility, I would have an emotional break and I wouldn't be able to handle it. So I do not think that's the case. I think a lot of us feel like that. Hold on one second. I had to take those headphones off. I'm sweating my fucking face off in this room right now. It's like full on summer already, and it's only May. Um, so, um, so yeah, I think a lot of people are like that. They feel like, oh, you know, even if they're handling a lot of stuff and they're doing great things, like in the middle of it they have these thoughts of like, I can't do this, I'm gonna fucking mess up, like, and then some really scary thoughts of like, oh my god, I can't believe I have to do this, I'm gonna choke, I'm gonna, I'm not gonna be able to handle this. It's for someone who has felt before that they couldn't handle something, and just like created a huge narrative that wasn't necessarily true to excuse themselves. Like, I remember once I was like training for a job in retail and I had a panic attack during the training and I left and I thought, oh my God, I can't handle this. And then I was like, I can't handle my life, because it was early on in my panic attack days. And I was like, well, I need to like leave New York. I need to go home. I need to like be with family. I need to like just completely be a baby for some time. And maybe I did need that, but later on I realized that I was going to have bouts of more severe anxiety and panic, and the only way to get out of it is to literally pull yourself up and out of that fucking hole. No one else can do it. You have to do it. And it's the only thing that's worked for me, and it fucking sucks. But the more you do for yourself, the more you say, "Oh my God, I really can do this. I really can handle this. I'm really the only one that can help me here." So, yeah, I I can handle things. Um, I should want more for myself, and I am just. I guess I'm angry that I would let myself go this long without having jobs that were better. Like, and I could have told, and maybe I did tell the guy that I was interviewing with, like, I have like 20 years of customer service experience. Like, did I manage membership department at a gym specifically? No. But like, I did all these other things. I've been an assistant manager at a retail store. I've been an assistant manager at an ice cream shop one time. I've fucking founded, directed, organized, coordinated an entire fundraising event by myself. Like I have the capabilities of doing these things. It's just that I don't know. I just wasn't exactly the right experience. I mean, I wasn't. It sucks that the employer would have said to me, he kind of did, that I just wasn't experienced enough. After he told me to my face that I was experienced enough. He said he was looking for people with more considerable experience, which leads me to believe that later on he reneged on what he had said, but he might have also just been like, we're looking for someone who has had exactly the experience that we're trying to like create here. Like, nothing different at all. This person literally did this same job at a different location, and now they're here to do this job again. So that's great. Unfortunately, they're probably gonna have to pay her a fuck ton more, because I would have done that job for the low end, and she probably is going to ask for the high end, which is a difference of $20,000. For a nonprofit, that's like a lot of money. So good luck to you, sir. But yeah, I've just kind of been like feeling a little bit like, what's my direction? Um, I've been feeling just kind of like blah. There's a lot of mornings when I wake up, like the mornings when I get to sleep in, I just literally lay there and I'm like, I don't really know if I feel like sleeping anymore. I don't really know if I feel like getting up. I'm just kind of like, ugh. And that's to be expected, honestly. After a big, stressful, crazy time, it really is to be expected that you just feel like kind of blah and like I really just don't know like what. I don't know what. I don't know what. I'm just doing. I'm gonna just see what happens. Try to show up to shit on time. Try to keep my eyes open for new shit, I guess. But anyway, at the same time, I would like to talk about a little bit more about my job, but it actually has to do with more along the lines of like what we talk about on this podcast. So before we get into that, though, I'd love it if you guys would rate, leave a review, follow, subscribe. That'd be awesome. Please email us at makesexwithmepodcast@gmail.com. I know it's capable. I know it's capable. I know you're capable. I know it's possible for you guys to write in and just like say hi. Just let me know what's up. I'll read it online on the air. I am like sweating so much right now, and I'm like trying not to move. I'm not wearing those headphones. Literally, like my forearms are sweating. I don't know if this is because I drank last night, or I do know I smell like somebody dipped a sausage in some like minced garlic. I smell disgusting right now. It's very, very specific smell. And I feel like I haven't shaved in 2 years. For some reason, my fucking facial hair and my like eyebrows are growing like at an alarming rate. Like I don't know what I've changed in my life. Maybe this is like what it's like to get older. You just start growing hair more and more rapidly in places you don't want it. Ears, nose. I noticed that my nose hairs are out of control. I try to trim them, but it's like fuck that. My unibrow, my other places where like I want hair, like my underarms are like bald. Not really, but they're like not as hairy as they once were. My legs aren't as hairy as they once were. Nothing I want to be hairy is as hairy as it once was, but everything that I don't care to be hairy is like blowing up. Is this like late stage like middle age puberty? I don't know. It's like a different thing. I mean, there could be some hormone changes in my body. I don't know. I don't know. I should ask my therapist. He's an older guy. Do you have hair on your back? Um, all right, so this week we are going to talk about the YMCA. So I've talked about the YMCA before. I work for the YMCA, and it is overall a really great organization. It's a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit organization, runs on donations, helps so many people, helps, children, families, helps, people who can't afford to have like a membership to a gym or, a community center. I mean, it's so much more than a gym. It offers a lot of wellness programs of different kinds. A lot of Ys, including mine, are linked to like hospital systems, so that they can do a lot more in the way of like helping people with their health as well. So, I mean, it's just overall a really good thing. They bring people together. They help people to stay active. They help old people, young people, middle-aged people, all sorts of people, people of color. They do a lot to help underserved communities, and the Y is a great organization. I just want to start there. Start by saying that. And I am, though I'm not Christian, I am very aligned with the values of, what they're doing to help people. I think the Y is getting to be a lot more Christian-y than it used to be. I think that it was kind of lax in its like religiosity in like the 70s, 80s. But I mean, the Y has been around since like the late 1800s. I think 1880s or 1890s or something. So it started in England and then it moved to the States and was in like big cities like New York and Philly and stuff. And then eventually it was in big cities out west and just kind of spread around the country and eventually into other parts of the world as well. So it's a big organization. That being said, each little section of the Y is its own kind of semi organization or smaller sub organization, let's say. So my organization is like 3 locations that are in South Carolina, and they don't include other Y locations in South Carolina. Those are all their own thing. So each little sub organization gets to decide certain things for itself, basically how it's going to run itself. And that's good because depending on where you are, if I run my Y this way, it helps the people that I serve in this area. If I run my Y a little bit differently over here, it helps me to serve these different people better. So that is good. It's more like Americans, more democratic, I guess. That being said, there's a lot of interpretation about like what the Y is about. Just like you could read a text and every person who read it could come away from that text having a different understanding of what they had read. So there are some very specific guidelines that, the Y in general is all about. And those kinds of things have to be included in materials and stuff at your sub-organization, no matter what. Like we're supposed to use the same font for literally everything. we can't post anything that's not in Y font. And it's not called Y font, but it probably should be because the Y is all about it. But anyway, so I won't even tell you which font because it's private. You don't get to hear that. That's for insiders only. So the Y is it has a long history, like I said, and it was involved in the creation of a lot of other organizations and other things. Like for instance, I was told by someone that volleyball like was invented by people at the Y. So like that's interesting. The Y has strong ties with I don't want to say that because I'm not sure if that's true, but I know that they have in the past had really strong ties with the Boy Scouts, which became an issue when all of the shit started coming out about the Boy Scouts and the sexual abuse happening within their organization. When that happened, I'm not going to say that the Y separated themselves from the Boy Scouts of America, but they probably had to do some shit to save face. But one of the things that I've mentioned before on the podcast that I think is really important that the Y did was that they started to implement trainings for all of their employees about how to keep children safe from sexual abuse. They've started to look at their organization and say, like, where are the dark corners? Like, where are the places where the vulnerable are made accessible to people that might try to hurt them? And within each organization of the Y, little sub-organizations, everyone's kind of expected to do everything in their power to keep children safe. So I mentioned before, And not, I don't know if every organization around the country and the world are this strict, but my particular sub-organization, I don't know if that's what I should call it. It's not a chapter. It's like, it is its own little private sub nonprofit of the huge thing. So we are very strict about who we let in. We do not let a single adult person in the door if they don't have their photo ID with them. And if they're like, oh shit, I left it at home, I'm so sorry, can I just come in? We're like, nope, you cannot come in. You absolutely have to have your ID. We have to know who you are, what you've done as far as like, well, really just only sexual abuse. If you're on a sex offenders list, we have to know about it. That's the main thing. Okay, if you were in prison for stealing cars, we won't know that. If you were convicted of murdering somebody, you can come right in, apparently. If you raped and murdered a person, you can't come in. So that's there's some flaws there. I mean, like, we need to keep children safe, but we also need to keep like everybody safe. So but that being said, like, it's very rare that, you know, let's say a gym would like do a criminal background check on every single person that they let in as a member. Like, that's not possible. That it would take weeks to fulfill your membership application. And that's like not a good business model. So like no one's going to do that. Like, you know, when you apply for a job, they ask you like, have you ever been committed of a felony? And you're supposed to say yes if you have. And some jobs will do criminal background checks, but you know, they're not going to vet their customers. So we definitely do have a database that we connect to that will tell us pretty immediately if a person is a sex offender within this country. That's another problem. If they're a sex offender in another country and they haven't been registered as a sex offender in our country, then we will not know. So that's a hole that we can't really, you know, shine a light into, because there's no way for us to get that information from other countries, I don't think. And then there's the fact that our system that we use, it's called Raptor. Right now we have it set up so that it like scans all the people who have membership, uses their information to determine if they are a match in the database. But if one little thing is typed incorrectly, if you put January 3rd, 1976 instead of January 3rd, 1975 on is their birthday, it won't find them. There are a lot of instances where it finds similar stuff, but most of the time it'll say like there's a possible match, and you'll look at it and it'll say like the other day there was a possible match and the person who was the sex offender was deceased. So I was like, well, that clearly isn't this guy because that guy's dead. And then sometimes it's like they have a different middle name, or they have a different state that they live in, which doesn't mean that's not the person, obviously. But there's oftentimes not enough information about the sex offender given to us, so that we really can't determine like if it's a match or not. So that is another hole in the system. But the big one was we used to actually type in every person's ID to the Raptor system. And that was when if you typed one thing wrong, you just wouldn't get a match. But it's like, what? Can you not? First of all, there should be a way to scan. I mean, you can literally scan the back of an ID. So we should have had a way of scanning it, and then the system would run the exact data from that ID and see if there's a match. But anyway, that wasn't how we did it. So there's some holes in the system. But that being said, we're doing more than like most organizations do. You know, even if you like drop your kid off at a public school, they're not like the parents aren't being vetted. Like, you know, mom and dad come to pick up the kid. They haven't had a sexual sex offenders, like, you know, cross reference of a database, like, you know, for them. Whoa, what am I saying? The teachers have all been vetted, hopefully, at a school, but like, and for all criminal background stuff, not just sex offenders registry. But the parents don't really. So like all these people are allowed to come get their kids and come into the school, and like there's no way to know if they're this or that. Because sex offenders, it's almost like a loyalty system. Like you're supposed to like register, and you're supposed to like tell all the people in your neighborhood that you're a sex offender, and you're supposed to like do all that stuff. But it's like, yeah, but really, like what percentage of people do that? Is it 100%? I doubt it. Is it a low percentage? Probably not. But still, is it 100%? I honestly doubt it. Unless like you have a social worker with them and they go around and tell everybody with you. But really, social workers have like so much work already. Like, oh my God, it's crazy. So anyway, I'm all for keeping children safe, keeping all of our members safe, regardless of what age they are. But there are some issues that have recently been coming up, and I know this is something that all Ys are dealing with. We have in our country extreme conservatism, social conservatism, and it is based in a lot of things. You know, these like evangelical, Christian, Republican, nationalist kind of types. They are racist. They are anti all other cultures and religions. You might ask them if this is true, and they might say, "No, no, no, we're not against other religions," but they're saying that. But then you look at their actions, how they vote, how they treat other people. You know, who would they allow their children to be friends with or date? You know what I mean? They're anti-gay, most cases, anti-trans, anti-LGBTQIA plus, all of it. They are not Christian people. They're fake Christian people. And fortunately, the YMCA is all about DEI, which they won't call it that because that's how like the right wing media has like tried to make it a bad thing. DEI is just diversity, equity, and inclusion. Literally, that doesn't mean anything other than that. It means diversity. It means like we want all people to be able to come here and be themselves. They don't have to come here and act a certain way to be accepted. Diversity is allowing all different kinds of things and people here. All right. Equity, I forget what equity means, but I think it means like value or something. Let's look it up. That's one of those ones I've said it a million times. I even know of the Actors Equity Union. What does equity mean? How does I spell it? The quality of being fair and impartial. So I was not right. Well, I said quality, but the value of the shares issued by a company. Okay, well, that's stupid. So fair and impartial. So it has to do with fairness, impartiality. We're allowing all people here. We're being fair to all people. You know, we're not being conditional, right? And then inclusion is like, I don't know why anybody could possibly say that there's anything wrong with being inclusive. Like you're just including all people. Like all three of these words are like, they're different words, but they all mean similar things. Like it's just about letting everyone be a part of this. And so many people are like, all are welcome. Like churches and shit will say all are welcome, and it does not mean that. It does not mean that. You're more than welcome to come in, but once you get here, we're gonna have some rules that you need to follow. You're gonna have to believe some of the things that we believe. You're gonna have to live a life that we believe is like the Christian life. And if you don't, well, then you are not welcome. But we love you. We want you to be here. We want you to be here with us. If you could just please change your evil ways, then then you could stay. But that's really your choice. If you don't change, then I guess you have to leave, and you've made your choice. That is what fake Christians say. So there's that. The why is not like that. And I am not a Christian, so I am constantly worried that I will be betrayed by my own workplace and my CEO or my executive directors or whatever. I'm afraid that they will discriminate against me for some reason, but they have not, to my knowledge, done that yet. And I have been told by the CEO himself that these are the pillars that we that hold up the roof of our organization, and we believe in what we're saying. And he's been like, I'm very Christian, and they fucking pray at every meeting. Like, it's too much. But anyway, they don't make me pray. Although one time someone said, please hold hands. And I was like, well, fuck you. You can't make us hold hands and pray, because that means I have to pray with everybody else, or I look like a dickhead. I hate group prayer. I think it's so fucking stupid. I don't want to pray with other people if I don't know what they believe. That's what I don't want. I don't have anything, there's nothing wrong with praying. Just like, I don't want to pray with you if you don't believe what I believe. What are you fucking praying for over there? That, abortion will be made illegal federally? Fuck you. I don't want that. I don't want your stupid fucking prayers. I don't like group prayer. But anyway, let's get into the topic. So I've done a lot of explaining. I'm not sure if I said everything, but I've said enough probably. So there is this issue, okay? Where I live, there was a grant given to the school system a couple of years back because some kids drowned. That would allow them to teach every second grader in the county how to swim. But just this county, not the one next door. Just this county. So every year that grant is renewed. Like, we get a new grant, the school system does, to teach these kids how to swim. And it's done at the YMCA because the schools don't have pools. So they bring the kids over in groups. It's only for 1 month, but it's like, 3 hours a day, 3 days a week for one whole month. And so they were coming over. We have some pretty strict rules to keep kids safe at the Y already. Some of those include where there should never be a child alone in a room with an adult at any time. But also there should never be a time when there's like two children alone together in a room, because of the fact that, children can hurt other children, or a slightly older child can definitely hurt a younger child. So they try not to have that happen. They're basically, if there's two people in a room together alone, they should both be adults. So, that's already a rule, and the people who take care of kids at our organization, they're very well aware of that. They know that they cannot be. Like, there's a woman who works in Child Watch, and she, every once in a while, she'll just have like one little toddler in the room with her. And there's cameras on that room even. But she's like, I know I'm not allowed to be alone in this room until another parent brings a kid in for me to watch them. I literally have to open the door, and I have to like go walk around the lobby with this little kid. I can either hold him, or I can put him in a wagon and pull him around. But that's what they have to do because they can't be alone in a room with a kid. Like, we take this very seriously. We do not make mistakes when that's concerned. It's a fireable offense. So, and I think that's great. I think that's great. I mean, and there's the exception I just thought of where it's like a parent and their own child. They can be in a room together alone because that's their parent, right? Not saying that parents can't hurt their own children, but I'm sure they're not choosing to do it at the YMCA if they could more easily do it at home, right? Which is a really terrible thing to think about, but that's probably where it happens. So, um, so we have these kids coming from the schools, okay? Like a week or so ago, and everything had been happening. Everything had been happening. Um, like the swim lessons had been happening or whatever. And we have just men's locker room, women's locker room. A lot of the men at our gym are older men, same with the women, and they just don't have the same qualms about getting naked in a locker room. Like, they'll get naked at their locker, they'll have a whole conversation with someone butt naked. They'll walk to the shower naked, they'll come out of the shower naked, they'll dry off in front of the mirror naked, they'll, shave their face naked. They do all these things naked, and that's just how older people are. And also, that's how a lot of people are in the north or places that aren't as like conservatively religious. For instance, and I've said this before, I've never been in a place where you have two sets of curtains or two curtains for a shower. So every shower is like a deep cubicle, and you've got a curtain that you close, and then a second curtain maybe like 2.5 to 3 feet in from that curtain. So one is the curtain you pull closed to keep the water from leaving the shower area, and the second one is to conceal like a changing area. So this has been like this at like numerous locker rooms I've been to in this area, and I've never seen that before. Never, ever, ever, ever seen that before in my life before I came to the South. It is so conservative. It is like, you shouldn't be naked in front of anybody else. Or you, like, at least if you don't want to be naked in front of anybody else, you don't have to be, which I actually respect that. I think there needs to be a place for people to change if they don't feel comfortable being naked. I don't think anyone should ever be forced to be naked. But they should never be forced. I don't think people should be forced to be clothed either in areas where they're allowed to be naked. And so this is where the problems are starting to happen at my Y, because we don't have a family changing room, and it's not really going to be something we could create inexpensively. Like, it would have to be very expensive. We'd have to like add on to our building essentially to have a family changing room. So these kids are in there changing. The kids come and they swim for like, I don't know, an hour, and then they change for 10 minutes or something. Maybe they swim for 50 minutes, change for 10 minutes, whatever. And then they leave, another group comes in. It's like 3 groups. At some point, a little boy, or I don't know if it was a little boy or a little girl, saw an older person naked, and they probably were like, ew, or like, I don't know, something. They just made a mental note of it, went home, told their parents that they had seen an old person naked, and that parent freaked out, called the school, was livid. Why was my child exposed to a naked adult? The school was upset with the YMCA. Like, everyone was upset, and it was like blown way out of proportion. If for some reason that adult had like exposed themselves, like we talked about this a couple weeks ago, like how intention is really important. If that adult person had exposed themselves to that child, like graphically or like in a sexual way, or was like, flashing them in some way, that's one thing. But like, they were in a locker room changing, kids came in to change, and the kids were all together, and they were all like with their counselor people. They probably had one or two adult staff people with them for that process. They usually do. Um, and the apparently, like, there had been some talk at some point to tell like the adult men like they needed to change in a stall, or like just like, you know, walk from the shower to the locker with a towel on, or like do be less like outwardly naked in front of the kids. um and these men were just like, kind of like, fuck you, like, this is our locker room, we're gonna be naked, we're not gonna change anything. Also, I will say that some of these older men have a hard time like maneuvering in the locker room. Like they take a while to do anything because they can't like squat down, they can't like, you know, going from standing to sitting is hard for older people, laying down on the ground getting back up is impossible. And they're trying to get their bodies dry with a towel, and it's hard to reach everything. They're trying to get in and out of a locker, they're doing all these things, and like some of them are overweight, so it's like, just, it's difficult for them to be like, oh, I have to keep this towel around myself just because there's kids in here suddenly, these kids that were never here before, and these people pay money to be here, you know. And so it's like telling them that they have to change the way that they do something that they're used to doing, and they're old, so they don't really want to do that anyway. But the way that it came up to them, some of these old people, they didn't like it, and they were like, fuck you, we're gonna do it anyway, and, you know, take those kids somewhere else or whatever, I don't know. And like, certainly nobody wants to keep kids from learning how to swim if it could, you know, be life-saving. But you know, some of these old people consider their time at the gym life-saving as well. I mean, you know, some of these people come and take aquatics classes because they can't work out without the water, because they need to, you know, have softer exercise for their joints. Some of them, you know, swim laps. Some of them, you know, use the hot tub and the sauna and the steam room and things like that for their health. And like, some older people use our showers because they're easier to get in and out of than the showers at their house. You know, if a really old person has a shower tub situation, they can't actually like always step over the edge of the tub to get in. They have to like have just a flat. A guy explained this to me the other day. He's like, I shower here because I can get into your shower. I can't get into my shower at my house anymore, and I can't afford to like replace my shower. Or he didn't care to replace his shower anyway. So I was just like, wow, that's interesting. You know, you learn a lot when you work with old people a lot. But it is a challenge for us to separate the kids and the old people. And this month was the worst, where we had to figure out a way to keep children from seeing adults naked. And at one point, the school said, we're just going to bring a sign. We're going to close your locker room when we're in there, and no one's allowed in the locker room until the kids are done changing. The other rule is that no kid can change in front of another kid, which is kind of intense. Kind of intense. You know what I mean? I could see how like they wouldn't just want like a teacher or a counselor standing there watching them change. That's not maybe a good idea. And like, you don't want to have two kids alone together, or an adult and a kid alone together, you know. So I guess it has to be that you can't have two kids changing in front of one another. But the whole thing is like kind of crazy. I mean, obviously, like, whatever your feelings and thoughts are about nudity, like, it doesn't have to happen at school or at the Y, but I mean, kind of does happen at the Y, because the Y has a locker room, the Y has a gym. I think it's important. Personally, I think it's important for kids to see other kids naked. I think it's important for kids to see adults naked. I think it's important for nudity to happen publicly. But I'm not saying that for some perverted reason. I'm saying that because we learn about ourselves and we learn about other people by being naked together. Like, it can help a kid feel so much more comfortable about their body if they realize that, oh my God, all my friends kind of look just like I do. You know, we're naked and it doesn't matter. It's not sexual. We're just ourselves, and other people are kind of just like me. Like I was so insecure about, you know, this or that on my body, but then I saw that like other people have similar things or worse things, and now I'm just like, I feel good about myself. Like there's so much self-love that can be achieved through nudity, and it's hard to explain that to conservative Christians because they think that the body is a dirty sexual thing, and it's like the body can be sexual, but it doesn't have to be. The body is a lot of things, but it's not purely one thing. Or I shouldn't say purely. The body is pretty pure, but it's not solely one thing. So, and if nudity to you is only sexual, then that in itself is a perversion. If you can't see a naked body and not think about sex, that's a perversion of your mind that you have to maybe figure out. Because, like, you should be able to see a naked body and just be like, that's beautiful. And you could also think it's sexy. You could, I mean, more than one thing can be true, right? So I actually love being naked. I love being naked with other people. I love it to be, I like sometimes when it's sexual. I like it a lot when it's not sexual. I think there's such a nice camaraderie there. I love seeing old bodies naked just because, like, I know that, yep, I'm going to look like that one day. I love to remember that. I don't love to stare at old naked people. I just love to know that, yep, this body is not permanent. This body changes. This body's going to get weird moles and bumps and crannies and, you know, all sorts of veins popping out and stuff. And there's going to be a lot that happens to this body that I don't like when it happens, but it's going to happen. And there's really nothing we can do about it. And to be able to accept that change, that is so important. So, but you know what? There's a big push for parents' rights right now. There's a big issue with like parents getting involved with their schools too much and like just kind of helicoptering and like, I care about me and my child. I don't care about the school. I don't care about the teachers. I want my child to have the best, and my child's wonderful, and this and that, and me and my child, me and my child, me and my child. And it's like, all right, calm the fuck down. Calm the fuck down. Like, is your child important? Yes. Are you important? Sure. But also the teachers are super fucking important, especially because we're running out of good teachers, because a lot of teachers don't want to deal with your shit. And we need good schools. We need all of that. And there's not enough funding. You know what I mean? We need to get over some of these ideas of what Christianity looks like, of what's important, of what means what. I mean, like, people are giving a lot of meaning to things that aren't necessary. Like, this, to say that diversity, equity, and inclusion is like this evil ploy to blah 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 to wokeify people. It's like, they're just words and they mean exactly what they're defined as. It's not some covert op. Like, it's diversity, equity, and it's inclusion, and that's exactly what that means. There's nothing else. We just want everyone to be allowed to come to the table, and you can't even allow that. Black Lives Matter, regardless of if white lives matter or Asian lives matter or police lives matter, Black lives also matter, and you can't even fucking say it. It's the same shit. It's the same bullshit. And I guarantee the people who are squawking about all this shit on the fucking TV don't give a shit about these people or any people. They're just trying to manipulate voters constantly. So there's nothing wrong with the naked body. The naked body in itself is not sexual. Breastfeeding a baby is not sexual. If you don't want to see it, if you get turned on by it, why is that the mother's problem? Why do people make their fucking problems other people's problems all the time? I just told a girl the other day, I was like, a locker room is for people to change. If you don't like naked people, don't go in the fucking locker room. There's a bathroom. You could just go in the bathroom. I would be surprised if somebody was naked in the bathroom, because that's actually not the place to change. That's the place to go pee and poop and wash your hands. But if you are in the locker room or in a shower, you are going to be naked. If you don't like naked people, don't go in there. Don't do it. Because that's the other problem. We have adults that don't like, we have young adult males especially that don't like seeing old men naked. And they occasionally complain to us about it. And I just look at them and go, I don't know why you're talking to me. Like, I don't know what to say or do about this, because this is so clearly your insecurity and you could so clearly avoid it just by not going in there. And yet you're making it a problem for yourself. And now you're trying to make it a problem for me. And I wasn't even fucking there. And I'm also so fucking low on the totem pole at this organization. There's fucking nothing I can do about it. So fuck off, please. Kindly fuck off. There's a guy who's like, oh my God, I was in the steam room and these guys were in there naked. And I was like so grossed out. I mean, you got to do something about that. And I was like, well, we can do something about the fact that they need to have something in between their bare butt and the seat of the steam room, because that's like a health issue. Like, we can't have cross, fecal contamination or whatever. But as far as like whether they're wearing a towel or a bathing suit or naked, exposed naked on top, like, don't go in there. That's probably going to happen. Everyone here is like over 65. That's probably going to happen. Don't go in there. It's so fucking easy to do. Just don't go in there. Go in the sauna. The sauna's co-ed. People have to wear clothes. Sorry, you have to have a dry heat instead of a wet heat, but like, you don't want to see naked people, so go in the sauna, you stupid motherfucking idiot. Don't go in the shower. There's going to be naked people in the showers. It's like going into a bathroom and being like, somebody was pooping in the stall next to me and it smelled like poop and I don't like it. Don't go into a bathroom. People are going to be pooping. I don't like bananas. Don't go in the grocery store. Don't go in the produce section. Just go down the cereal aisle. You're not going to see as many bananas. I was going to try to make a joke about low-hanging fruit in the men's locker room, but I didn't. But I think that was kind of like I did. There was a guy who was like wanting us to change the way we rented lockers, because one half of the locker room is rental and the other half is daily use. And he said that the daily use side was just really crowded because it was. And like a lot of the, the rental people, like they rent a locker, but they like aren't there. They don't always come very often, but like they're paying money. They're paying $10 a month for a service that includes like a section of the locker room that is also not as crowded. I mean, the problem is that we need a bigger locker room at times. But this guy was complaining because he was like bending down to get something, and the guy behind him was bending down, and they touched butts. And they weren't naked, but like he was upset about it. And he decided to talk to our executive director for like an hour about it. And then she was like, I'm so fucking tired of talking to this guy. I'm going to just like, can we do something about this? And I was just like, we do not change a fucking policy because one person had a bad day. Like, that is not what's going to happen here. And of course she just said it and then she moved on because she has fucking bigger fish to fry. But I was like, do not make a big deal about this because one person complained. Maybe 5 people will complain, but there's like so many more, way more people that aren't complaining about it. It's not really an issue. I fucking hate it when people think, oh, we have to change all of our rules because one person complained. It's like, some people just fucking suck. Do not change your rules because of one fucking sucky ass person. Can you tell that I'm like vomiting up all of my anger from my job? It just sucks. It sucks so much. And from somebody who just really loves people and acceptance and the body and just all the things that are really important, and all the things I think Jesus would actually be about, to live in a society where you're almost like, it's almost being, or there's a fear of it being criminalized, like to criminalize nudity. I mean, it's already like, you're not allowed to be naked just any place. It already is criminalized to be naked. But like, there's some places where it's always been appropriate to be naked, and they're trying to criminalize that too. And it makes you so mad when the instances of sexual abuse are so commonly situations where, like, it was a coach or a teacher or a doctor or a parent or a grandparent or a family member or a neighbor or a clergyman or, someone close to the child or the child's family, or a schoolmate, or, somebody close though, like the instance of the thing that sometimes I'm like the ways in which we're protecting our children are not the right ways, like when, with all this stuff about drag queens trying to groom our children and pervert our children, and there's never ever been a single documented case of any of that happening. But what happens all the fucking time is priests and pastors and ministers and youth ministers and all of that raping and sexually abusing children. Happens all the time. Once a month there's an article about it. Happens all the time. And they're not doing anything about it. They trust these people. Sometimes a man of the cloth, we'll call him, will rape or sexually abuse a child, and then the child will tell the parents, and then the parents trust the man instead of the child because they trust him so much. We're killing a sheep and pretending it's a fucking wolf when there's an actual wolf that's preying on the sheep. It's just like so fucking backwards. All right, I'm done. There's nothing more I can say except for don't make me wear clothes in a locker room, you fucking assholes. That's all. I'm done. All right, guys, that's all this week. It's a little shoddy. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are spending time naked if you like that. I would love to know what you think about all this. And please rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen. Please email us, makesexwithmepodcast@gmail.com. And I hope you guys are filling your holes with whatever makes you happy. By the way, if you just cover your holes, I think that's fine. Just like cover your butthole, your PP or VV hole, and like that's fine. That's covering up nudity enough. Nipples can be out. Free the nipple. All people should be topless. Just cover your holes, not your mouth, unless you want to, or your ears, or your nose, or your eyeballs. Those are all optional. Bye.